So I was on the airport on my way back to my cousin's home at Surabaya, and on the way home I decided to watch Parasite, the one film that got everyone and even the Oscars absolutely gushing with praise, winning even Best Picture and causing one very wholesome moment where director Bong Joon-ho smiled and got excited like a kid. I mean, look at that, that's so precious. Everyone and their cats recommended me this film, and despite loving some of Bong Joon-ho's previous works like The Host and Snowpiercer, I haven't had a chance to see this film, but I did have the chance to watch JoJo Part 4. I blame my brother for that. So I finally seen the film and it absolutely deserves every praise that it has gotten. Parasite is an amazing film. It's a story about a family of poor people exploiting the family of rich people through lying and manipulation. It starts with a guy being offered a job as an English teacher, but then that guy slowly adds his other family members by tricking the rich people into believing that they're experts on a certain given field that they're working on. The poor family becomes the parasite of the rich family, and the parasite grows bigger and bigger into reaching all sorts of aspects of the rich family's households, but there's something dark and sinister beyond all of that. It's only a matter of time before their desperation and greed turn into something monstrous. What I absolutely adore about this film is the fact that it feels so incredibly down to earth. And before we go on, I did not intend that pun. This is editing me speaking. The scenarios presented in the film are scenarios that might happen in the real world. The characters are written and speaking as if they're like normal people in the real world. Even the rich family aren't your stereotypical screw the poor people rich family. They're still a normal family who wants to live a normal life. Granted, they're incredibly naive and easily impressionable, but that's not out of the ordinary. A lot of people in the real world are incredibly naive and easily impressionable. Just ask the customers who bought Gwyneth Paltrow's snake oil products. If you haven't seen Parasite, do yourselves a favor and go see it. It's an amazing film and one of the few wins in the Oscars where a lot of people unanimously agreed on, or at least for most people. One of the things that I find really interesting about Parasite winning the Oscars is that it sparked a discussion that I never thought it would spark on. Sub versus dub. Yes, you know that discussion that is always associated with anime? Somehow that debacle is sparked once again thanks to a foreign film that is an anime. Now personally, I don't mind dubs if they're good and actually fit with the setting or the characters of the story in question. And unfortunately, dubs have a rather notorious reputation of being not very good. I'm not just talking about English dubs on anime, I'm also talking about my local Indonesian dubs. Some of them are okay, but some of them are just trash. As Parasite got released to the public and get mainstream attention thanks to winning the Oscars, I noticed something really interesting that I never thought existed. There are people in the world who legitimately cannot enjoy films with subtitles. That is a concept that I find very strange to grasp. You see, I live in Indonesia and I used to watch TV when they air a lot of foreign media. The kids' films or TV series are dubbed to varying quality of goodness. The films or TV series made for adults are obviously subtitled, with the exception of Chinese films or Korean films. Strangely enough, pretty much a lot of Chinese films that I watch on TV are dubbed, with the glaring exception of Shaolin Soccer, where they subtitle the English dub. Yeah, try to wrap your head around that. So forgive me for not being able to comprehend the fact that there are people who cannot enjoy another piece of media with subtitles. I legitimately thought that subtitles shouldn't be an issue for most people, but apparently for some people it is. It kind of makes sense if you think about it. People who are not used to seeing media with subtitles are people who are mostly watching media of a language that they can understand. Unfortunately, as much as I want to support the local entertainment media, they're not that great, which is why we're seeing tons and tons of Hollywood entertainment or Japanese entertainment, and all of them are subtitled because making subtitles are a lot faster than dubbing them. Now, considering that America absolutely dominates the entertainment industry, it's pretty safe to say that there are English-speaking people who only watch English-speaking media and never got into watching foreign language media at some point in their lives. Why? I don't really know, to be honest. I mean, there are foreign language media that are actually pretty good. Some of the foreign language media that I watch are in my favorite films of all time. If they refuse to watch foreign language media simply because they're foreign, There's a word to describe those sorts of people, and I can't believe that despite living in the wonderful year of 2020, we're still having that sort of attitude.
A man named Bong Joon-ho wins Oscar for Best Original Screenplay over Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in 1917. Acceptance speech was, "Great honor, thank you." Then he proceeds to give the rest of the speech in Korean. "These people are the destruction of America."
Now, this was the initial tweet that this person posted before he got ratioed to absolute hell. The clarification of that tweet was in the bottom.
These people are obviously not Koreans, but those in Hollywood awarding a foreign film that stokes flames of class warfare over two films I thought were more deserving, simply to show how woke they are. That should be clear from the rest of what I tweeted about tonight's production.
If your complaint is about the content of the film itself, then why mention the fact that he speaks in Korean? That would insinuate that Koreans are the ones contributing to the destruction of America. That's not a very nice thing to say, especially when we have the rooftop guys. The rejection towards foreign content doesn't end there, guys. There are a couple of Amazon reviews of the films complaining that they didn't watch the film because it's in subtitles, and that they want a refund after knowing that the film is not in English. One person hilariously stated that the film is in Chinese and disliked that the film is in Chinese, even though it's Korean. Sure, these are all just a couple of accounts that might be trolling, but Americans refusing to watch foreign film because it's not in English is actually a common sentiment that I find really strange. Again, maybe because I'm a filthy foreigner and I watch subtitle media all the time, but reading is a very basic skill. If you're like dyslexic or something, I can understand, but there are some people who don't watch films with subtitles for baffling reasons. Some people say that they can't get used to it reading subs, or that they're not used to it foreign language. Alright, get used to it then. If you can read, then get used to it reading subtitles. Watch more films that are not your language. I can give recommendations. We foreigners have to enjoy your Hollywood stuff on subs because you people dominated the entertainment industry. You people are the ones who are natively speaking the language of that entertainment industry. At least return the courtesy. Some people can't watch subtitles because they can't read that fast. Thank you for confirming that native English speakers read things in a freaking snail pace. My favorite one is, I don't watch subs because that means I have to pay attention to the film. I have other things to do as the film is playing, man. Yes, sir. You have to pay attention to the film to enjoy that film. You're not listening to an audiobook or a YouTube video. Now, I'm not saying that if you prefer dubs, then you're automatically lazy or a xenophobe. There are some dubs that I prefer over the original, but at least I can still read subs, and I don't make excuse like, I have to do other things as I watch the film. This article from Mother Jones is titled, "It Should Come as No Surprise That Most Film Audiences Prefer Dubbing to Subtitles." It starts off with the writer of another article talking about how Americans just don't like reading subtitles, and the Academy is mostly made up of Americans, working in the American film industry, the one that absolutely dominates the worldwide entertainment industry. The writer of the Mother Jones article argued by saying that it's not just Americans. People who watch Netflix around the globe prefer their piece of media to be dubbed rather than subbed. Actually, the article is merely stating that there is an increased interest towards dubbed media, and even if people prefer to watch in dubbed, that doesn't dismiss the fact that there are some who don't like reading in subs, and they're doing it for the dumbest of reasons. The writer continues by saying this.
But that's not my pet peeve. My pet peeve is that of course no one likes subtitles. After all, they eliminate one of the key aspects of the acting craft, reading lines. It's false sophistication of the highest order to pretend that this shouldn't or doesn't matter.
I assume that's because you're mostly watching English spoken media, and considering that you yourself admitted that you have seen almost no movies last year, that kind of highlights your inexperience on the worldwide entertainment media as a whole. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe it's because Americans or the English-speaking countries in general don't have experience with subtitles and don't have experience in watching foreign media. So I decided to read more into this, and I find a couple of really interesting things. The whole media consumption with with subtitles things has actually been scientifically examined. When you're watching a film, there are tons of things happening in your brain. That information includes not just what the words are and how they're ordered, but there are also information about the way the characters speak and their information, etc. While it is true that your brain needs to work a little bit harder, there's no scientific proof that the extra cognitive load is what keeps people from not reading subtitled films. So why aren't Americans used to with foreign films and subtitles? Well, you can blame Hollywood for that. You can blame American media for that. Before the 2000s, Americans absolutely dominated the entertainment media in America. Sure, you can get access to Japanese or Chinese entertainment media as well, and there are absolutely amazing stuff from those countries at the time, but the internet didn't exist at the time, and the localization and marketing in general are pretty difficult for foreign media. Things change around the 80s or the 90s, especially the 90s with the anime booming in popularity at the time, but a lot of those animes are being dubbed anyway. What I'm saying is, the booming popularity of American media and the constant localization and dubbing of foreign media are what made Americans to be less inclined to watch films and subtitles. Now, most of my viewers are definitely anime fans, so they are experienced in this whole sub versus dub debacle, and most of them are more likely to prefer watching subs, especially with the dubbing industry being an absolute mess that they are. But Americans who are not film buffs or weebs, as in the American normies, are not used to with that sort of experience because they're all consuming English spoken media. They don't want to broaden their horizon into watching something else. I find it rather ironic that the film to spark this overall discussion was none other than Parasite. The director Bong Joon-ho himself have shown disdain towards dubs. When he accepted the Golden Globe Awards, he said that once you overcome the 1-inch tall barrier of subtitles, you will be introduced with so many more amazing films. And he's right. In fact, he's definitely right if you're speaking in the perspective of a foreigner enjoying Hollywood films, because there are some really good Hollywood films that become my favorite of all time. Unfortunately, Americans are pretty stubborn, and once you get used to with that media consumption lifestyle of only English spoken media, it's difficult to get used to with anything else. Even the Japanese, who have their own entertainment media that absolutely dominates in their own country, still have English spoken entertainment, and in many cases, those English spoken entertainment even influences them, like Hideo Kojima with his Metal Gear series, or Hirohiko Araki, the creator of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Even Bong Joon-ho himself gave shout out in the Academy for Martin Scorsese and Quentin Tarantino. And that's precisely why I encourage people to watch more films in subtitles. Watch Parasite for starters. It's a great film, and I recommend it. I find it ironic that the film Parasite not just represents the poor characters exploiting the gullible rich ones through their scheme. Like a Parasite, it sneaked through the Oscars and swept many awards clean from other competitors. Except it's not a parasite that causes harm, or at least depending on your perspective. It's a parasite that would quench America's sentiment of not watching foreign films because they're not dubbed. It's a parasite that might grow into an even bigger one and influencing more and more people into watching more foreign films and subs. In my opinion, the good kind of parasite. The presence of foreign entertainment and people being fans of foreign entertainment can be either a good thing or a bad thing, depending on your perspective. Now, of course, Westerners enjoying foreign entertainment has been a thing for quite a while now, but as you can see, there are still many people in the West who are only just now exposed by this phenomenon. So maybe Parasite will become that film that will make future Westerners to realize that there are people who exist outside of their bubble, and they're making good stuff. But it's gonna be tough to break that bubble if you're not doing it too. This isn't really a matter of sub versus dub necessarily. At the end of the day, this debacle is a matter of personal preference. The same way the PC versus console debacle is a matter of personal preference. In the same manner that I highly suggest people to buy a PC instead of a console, I also highly suggest people to watch more media on subs, especially if you're one of those people who, for one reason after another, cannot get used to it. You'd better start getting used to it, otherwise you're gonna be missing on a lot of things, as previously said.